Good morning. Early this week, on Monday, I was able to clear some things and go on a walk with a friend who was doing a much longer walk. I joined him for one of the sections on the day. We walked, I met him at Thornlea, and we walked through the bushland beyond there. I went to Hornsby Station and back again. It was beautiful. Creeks and streams and rocks and trees and gopher and gums and grass trees and lots of other plants and shrubs, fennel flowers, parrots and cockatoos and a multitude of other birds. There were gullies and ridges, and it was just beautiful. The thing I learned on this walk was I'm not much in control when it gets out into that bushland. There was a track to follow, and sometimes several tracks and paths diverged, and you had to know where you were going. And even with maps and other things, we sometimes had to backtrack and find our way again. Two tracks looked very similar, and we took the wrong one. If it was just me alone in that bushland, even so close to suburbia, I'd get lost. Easily get lost, and I could wander for ages in that kind of space. And if I did, I don't know how I'd survive. I don't have the bushcraft skills to be able to survive in that environment for very long. I recognise that in being in that space, I was somewhat out of control. I couldn't control what was happening. The track went where it would, and I followed over rocks and down gullies and under trees that had fallen down, across creeks, over rocks, up, down, twisting around. It took us where it will. I couldn't control the temperature or the rainfall that came in the morning and drenched us. I had a coat which protected the little backpack I had and my head and back, but I still got some wet. I couldn't control the humidity that raged after that, or some of the heat. My shirt was wet all day. And by the time I left the track and moved up to Hornsby Station, I had some blood in my ankle where a leech had gotten to me in my sock. I had a knee that had some congealed blood on it from where I'd knocked something. And I discovered some blood stains on my hip when I took my shorts off. I'd obviously belted that, and some blood had seeped through. I must have looked a mess. But it was a good day. A day where I saw some beauty, and I guess just had to let go and trust that I would end up where I needed to end up, and that all would be well. I wasn't in control. And I think that sense of control is very important to us most of the time. We like to be in control of our lives and the situations we're in. We like to define what's right and wrong and who's in and out, and keep ourselves safe and secure within the boundaries that we know. This year marks 3 years, I realised, since the first COVID-19 lockdown in New South Wales. It was this week 3 years ago that the government locked us down, where everything was shut down immediately. We were locked inside our homes. We could go out for an hour a day to exercise, or to make a quick trip to the shops for necessary items. Those who had essential services, worked within food or water or health or sanitation or emergency services and whatever else, could go to work. But most workplaces were closed down. Some people could work from home. Schooling was done at home. And we realised the world had been brought to its knees, or the human world at least, had been brought to its knees by this tiny virus. A virus that had gotten out of the bat population into humans, had spread quickly throughout the world. And we thought as an island continent we'd be safe, but it got through and it quickly spread. And the lockdown measures were to contain it. And we suddenly lost control of much of our lives. And the government tried to maintain some measure of control over this contagion and limit its spread. And as things progress with masks, with hand sanitation, with lockdown or isolation if you had the virus, and then with vaccinations coming in and mandatory vaccinations, there was a sense for some people that they were losing more and more control and more of their rights, and there were protests as people felt out of control, losing control of their lives and the order of their lives and their ability to make decisions about themselves. We don't like being out of control, and we work our lives so much to gain and regain control and maintain a sense of order within our lives and the lives of those around us, our organisations, our families, our institutions. And this week 3 years ago, I read a story and recorded my first online video to help our congregations that had gone into lockdown to have some hope and encouragement, but also a resource that they could use. And it was the story that John tells of a man who was born blind. And in his culture, there's a sense of his blindness, his disability being a curse, a punishment for sin. And the disciples say, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus says, no one. And in this experience, God will be glorified. You'll see and you'll learn something new. You'll see more deeply. And so he takes some mud, as the story goes, and rubs it on the man's eyes and tells him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam near the temple. He does, and his eyes are open. He sees. And he's amazed, but the people around him are more amazed. Isn't this the guy that was begging? Because his life had been reduced to begging at the temple gates or along the main roads. He was marginalised, he was pushed to the margins by his disability, but also by this sense that maybe he'd done something wrong and is being punished. But now he saw, he could see. And as the story unfolds, it's really a story about seeing, not just this man's physical sight. We get caught up in this kind of miracle thing that John talks about. But the deeper miracle is those who can see and those who don't. The man was asked, well, what happened? And he tells them the story of this Jesus who came and put stuff in his eyes and made him wash, and he could see. And the religious leaders get involved, and they said, but surely this man wasn't blind, you're making this up. So they call in his parents, and the parents say, that's our son, and he was born blind. This morning he was blind, but now he sees. We don't know, ask him. He's a man, he'll tell you. So they ask the man again, what happened? And he says, I've already told you, this man Jesus helped me to see. They said, yes, but this is the Sabbath day, and God forbids, the law forbids to do any work, anything like healing, anything significant on the Sabbath day. So this can't be of God, so what are you saying? And the man says, look, I don't know who he was. I don't know anything about this. All I can tell you is I was blind, he did this, and now I see. And it seems to me that this is not something that just happens with ordinary people. You show me who else could do this. If it's not from God, I don't know who it is. Well, it can't be from God because God wouldn't break God's laws, surely. And then they find Jesus and they engage with Jesus. And he won't engage with them in this belief system way. He doesn't argue with them. He says this is of God. And God's ways are about love and grace and inclusion and justice. I am the one who comes to represent God's ways, to show you the way into God's heart. I come to show you that the boundaries and the barriers and the belief systems that you put in place that keep people locked away and pushed to the edges are not right. They're not the way of God. They're not the way of love. They're not right. The way of love is the way of healing and openness. And the religious leaders are opposed to him. They can't see it. He is confronting their belief systems, the rigidity of their laws. and he's challenging their control. Their need to be in control of the situation, need to be in control of the theological perspective, the religious and cultural and political situation that they have. And he says it's wrong. And there's no give or take on their side. They need to be in control. But this man who has no control over his life, who is blind and is at the whim and mercy of anyone, begging on the streets for income, this man sees. He sees the way into the heart of God, that this is a God, that this is grace, that this is love, and this is something God would do. This man who is accused of being a sinner and cursed and punished is suddenly embraced into grace by God's love and shown that God loves him as he is. And there is healing and life, and the man sees. And in the story, the man sees with his eyes, but deeper, with insight, with wisdom, with love. And the religious leaders who should see with wisdom and insight and love don't. They're caught up in their control mechanisms and their belief systems, and they don't see. All they can do is judge and exclude. And I think this is a lesson in our world. You know, a little virus showed us that we don't have control. A walk in the bush the other day showed me I don't have control. I can't control where the birds come and go to, or how the water flows through the creek, or whether rain comes or the sun. I can't control the environment out there, turn an air conditioner on or a fan or something else. All I can do is be in the moment and experience the beauty and the wonder that's all around me. And when my eyes are open to that, I see the sacred, the holy in my midst, the beauty and the wonder. What I learned from this is to let go. What I learned from the wise people of history is to let go. Is to let go of my belief systems, my religious legalism, my political attachments or cultural attachments or whatever it is. The things that hold me in place that I think I can control. To let go. And to trust the Spirit. To lead me and guide me, and to show me a way. I don't know about you, but the need to be in control is strong. And this story invites me to let go and to trust in Spirit, to trust in God, to trust in this way of love and life and hope. That gives me life. What about you?